If you're thinking about becoming a software engineer, maybe you already are one, or you're simply just interested to know how much they earn, well, in this video I'm going to break down how much you can make as a software engineer in the UK in 2024. I'll be using real world data as well as my own experiences of the job market, so let's get into the video. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Chris Pattle and I've been a software engineer for almost 15 years. Now, there's a lot of common misconceptions with software engineers and how much you can earn. I'm sure you've probably heard salaries as high as 250k, 300k, 400k coming out of Silicon Valley.
Show me the money.
But outside of the FAANG companies, which is Facebook, Apple, Amazon, Netflix and Google, there's actually quite a lot of disparity between how much you can earn. For example, you could be doing pretty much the same job with the same responsibilities for two different companies, and your annual income could vary by as much as 50k, perhaps more. And I've actually seen this in jobs I've been in the past, but I'll touch a bit more on that later. So first of all, before you even apply for your first software engineering job, there's many different paths you can take to get into the industry. So typically, I guess the route most people would take is you go to university and you'd study you study computing or computer science. Perhaps if you're slightly older and you don't like the idea of having to study alongside 18, 19, 20-year-olds.
How do you do, fellow kids?
You might want to do a coding bootcamp, or finally you could go for the option I took, which is just to self-teach yourself. There's loads of fantastic information, courses, tutorials online that most of the time are free, so you can definitely take that route if you want to. So whichever path you choose to go down, we're actually quite fortunate in this industry in that you actually don't need any formal qualifications to become a software engineer. So unlike, for example, if you wanted to be a GP, you have to go to medical school.
Hi, everybody! If
you want to be a lawyer, you have to do law school.
Guilty!
And you really can't get anywhere in those industries unless you've done that and you've got that piece of paper to say that you are qualified. But in software engineering, we don't have that. Of course, there'll be some companies that insist on a degree level education, but as long as you have a good portfolio and you can clearly demonstrate your skills, you should have no issue finding a job at all. Right, moving on to junior roles. So Indeed lists the average salary for a junior software engineer in the UK at just over 31k. Payscale lists it at 26k. Glassdoor between 29 and 41k. I think anything over 40 is a bit optimistic personally. And finally, talent.com defines it as 30k. From my own experience and where I think the job market is right now, I think 30k is a fair salary for a junior. Some companies might pay a bit less, some might pay a bit more, but obviously there'll be more competition to get those roles. If I was looking for a junior role, I would target a figure of 30k. Now, when I landed my first job, which albeit quite a lot of time has passed since then, so these figures are quite outdated, but I was on £17,500, which was basically kind of slave labour at that point. But I was just really excited to have a foot in the door and be on the first rung of that ladder, really. But after 15 months, I actually switched jobs and went up to 22k. Finally, I think in the last role I could call a junior role, I went up to 25k. So that was quite a while ago. If you factor in like inflation, probably looking at a figure of high 20s, which is, around that 30k mark. If you think that the average UK salary, I think, is around 35k, that's pretty good. Many people would be happy to be earning that. So it's important to note that, like in many professions, there's really no clear-cut definition of how much experience you need to move from a junior to what we call a mid-level engineer. I think it's probably around 2 years. That may vary from person to person depending on how good you are, really. Yeah, after about 2 years of getting more experience, building up your skill set, you should be level to take that next step to a mid-level. And salaries for that type of job, levels.fyi states 81k, which can't be right. I think I'm just going to totally disregard that figure. Indeed says 50k, Payscale says 40k, Reed says 57, and Glassdoor has a range of 41 to 69. So yeah, quite a big range there. It's important to note with these sites is that they calculate average salary very differently. Some will do it based on job listings. Others kind of use salary data from its users. So yeah, hence why there's that wide range. But 50k for a mid-level engineer sounds about right. I fell a bit short of that when I was at that level. I spent quite a long time around the 35 to 40k mark. I think that was just on me, really. I just kind of got a bit stuck in a rut, really. I probably could have earned more than that, but I kind of had, quite an easy job, and I just didn't really push myself too much. But yeah, you can definitely get 50k, I think. And also, one other thing I should point out is that in the UK, a lot of the wealth and money is in London. So if you're employed by a London company, that's where you're going to maximize your earnings, really. I think outside of London, salaries do drop by about 15%, sort of 20%, that kind of figure. Okay, moving on to senior, and Payscale has 56k as the average, Indeed 66k, and Glassdoor 57 to 87k. Now, I definitely think that figure of 87, let's just say 90k, is doable, especially in London. But if you want to reach those higher salaries, this is the point where you need to start thinking about like what industry is the company that employs me in, because sectors like finance are going to pay a lot more than if you're working for a sort of not-for-profit company, maybe. And obviously gambling and betting also pay lots more, but you might not that might not morally sit right with you. I know I wouldn't ever work for a gambling company, but yeah, I reckon finance is what you want to get into, really, if you want to be hitting those kind of high 5-figure salaries. Okay, so now you're a senior engineer. Maybe you've been doing it for a few years. This is where I think you need to make a choice about what you want to do long term, because here you've kind of got like, I think 3 different avenues you could go down. You could either become more of a project manager type role where you are less hands-on, you don't do as much coding, but you spend a lot of your time just managing people and managing tickets and sort of and also timelines, and you spend a lot of time in meetings with maybe board members. Or you can go for a lead role where maybe it's still a very practical role. You're still coding every day, but you are responsible for leading a team of engineers and the kind of technical decision making, you could say. Or finally, some companies kind of have a principal engineer role where you're kind of, you see this a lot more in bigger companies, where there's lots of different kind of where they separate engineers out into front end, back end. Maybe you have different engineers for different platforms like web, iOS, Android, server management. You might have a principal role where you're kind of like known as a leader in that area of the company. So for lead engineers, this is where the figures get a bit funny, actually, because Glassdoor has a lead as 53 to 80k, indicating that even though you're going up, you're going down in salary, which that can't be right. Talent has it as 65k and Indeed 59k. So again, these figures are very strange. I don't know why they are lower, because If you're going up into a lead role, it's more responsibility. Your pay should be higher. Personally, I think once you get into a lead role, you can definitely start to push towards that 100k mark. Which everyone wants to hit that. Same is probably said for a principal engineer. I think if you're a project manager, you might be able to just start to get over 100k. But yeah, a six-figure salary is always nice, and it will definitely put you in the top 3 or 2% of earners in the UK. So yeah, there you have it. That's what you can expect to earn as a software engineer in the UK in 2024. Obviously, the job market is rapidly changing at the moment, especially with more AI tools. I think we're seeing less kind of need for perhaps junior engineers. So it is a lot harder to get into the industry, I think, than it was perhaps 3 or 4 years ago. Plus, over the course of 2023, there's been massive layoffs by a lot of the big tech companies that just simply overhired during COVID. So that has also impacted the job market quite a bit. Even senior roles are becoming a lot more competitive now. Yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments. If you're a software engineer, what level are you at? What do you make? Do you think these figures are right or wrong? I'd be interested to hear what you think. Please do like the video and subscribe. It really does help me out. And yeah, stay tuned for more software engineering content.